Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to look at 12, a dirty dozen of my favorite all-time blind buys. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so blind buys. It is very exciting. It's exhilarating to pull the trigger on that. And you ship your money off and you wait on those movies to come in and you pop them in and you hope that they are as good as you want them to be. Now, I've talked about this before. I'm not sure which video you're going to see first, whether it's my 10 worst blind buys or here my 12 of my favorite blind buys. But they kind of go hand in hand. There's a little bit of a risk. But if you know your tastes really well, when you start to curate a collection and you figure out what you really like, how it's changed over time, what you used to like, what you like now, where those things merge, where they differ, all that kind of stuff, filmmaking, different directors that you like, all that stuff plays into it. When you start to know yourself better, you make better educated blind buys. Sometimes we still miss, but you miss a lot less, so it becomes a lot more fun. And whereas my other video, I had a hard time narrowing down the 10 or finding 10 bad blind buys because I have picked out things. I know myself, I know my taste. This was hard to limit to just 12. I could have kept going on blind buys that I actually like, and that takes away the whole upcoming video that I have where I'm doing something with some friends where they recommended some blind buys for me. So this is just 12, a dirty dozen of some of my favorite ever blind buys that I've done recently. So we're going to jump right into it. I do kind of have them ranked, but really it's close to the top that it matters the most. But coming in first here at number 12 is Invisible Maniac. This is just a fun-ass 4K, great 4K from Vinegar Syndrome. I mean, this combines sort of raunchy high school comedy with horror, and it kind of explores what would you do if you got the power to turn invisible and you were a horn dog and you were left to your devices inside a school with graduating seniors. There you go. Let your mind wander. It's just fun. It's absolutely fun, and I had a great time with it. Glad that I blind bought that 4K. Now, next one up is one. Some of these are blind buys, but I knew stuff going about them going in. You should always try to find as much stuff as you can going in to help you make the best decision. This one I heard my buddy Daniel at the Cobwebs channel talk about. My friend Chance talks about this movie a lot. I'm a big werewolf movie guy, fantasy, fairy tale. I love all that. So The Company of Wolves. Now, I don't know how I missed it when I was younger, but because this is the prime age. But I'm not sure how I missed it. But man, I high recommend Company of Wolves. Like I said, fantasy fairy tale. You're going to see some fairy tales or like some stories that seem familiar, but they're different. Horror, fantasy, you're going to get Little Red Riding Hood type vibes, Granny, like all that kind of stuff you're going to get in here. Just 100% my jam. I loved it. Once I read about it now as an adult and heard those guys talk about it, I knew I was in. It was an easy blind buy and a great 4K, The Company of Wolves. Now, cracking the top 10, the only reason this one's this low is because I didn't personally buy this one. It was sent to me, and it started my David Lynch adventure. My very first channel member, Tyler, sent me this film, and man, I'll be forever grateful as it started me down the road of David Lynch. I'm talking about Blue Velvet. I had never seen Blue Velvet. I had always stayed away from Lynch because I always just kind of had the feeling that he was just pretentious for pretentious sake. And now I think I've discovered he's the exact opposite of that. Like, I really, really think he's the exact opposite of that. Blue Velvet, just absolutely crazy. The candy-colored clown they call the Sandman. That comes into my head every time I see this now. Just a hell of a turn by Dennis Hopper in this movie. It's twisted, all that kind of stuff. Very surreal, David Lynch. But love having it. Just a great one to send me down the path. Now, number 9 is another Vinegar Syndrome release. This is yet another one that I heard my man Daniel at the Cobwebs channel talk about because he is a huge Paul Naschy fan. And so I finally gave Paul Naschy a try, and I am definitely digging some Paul Naschy stuff. This one is like if you had a Hammer horror movie and a classic Universal Monsters horror movie come together and then throw in a bunch of nudity and Euro sleaze. And it's just a damn load of fun. I'm talking about Count Dracula's Great Love. Oh, I high recommend this. High recommend this. If you want some of the fun to kind of tiptoe in it and have some TNA and stuff help tiptoe you in, Paul Naschy was the man. Like, he had every woman in all of his movies, especially ones he was writing and directing and acting in. If they were in his general vicinity, they were dropping panties for him. And he was just living his best life. This movie is so much fun. I really enjoy it. More and more Paul Naschy movies to me, please. I am digging them. So Daniel, I thank you for that. And this is what I mean about sometimes if you trust somebody and you know your taste, you can pick things out of what people say and associate it with the things that you like, and it might help you find movies that expand your palette even more with a blind buy. Definitely here, Count Dracula's Great Love. Now, the next one is a very recent movie, and I don't know how I didn't see this one either. I guess it's not as recent now, but I really did enjoy this one. I still don't like it. Maybe some people just fall all over themselves over it, but I really do like this movie. And I'm a Ryan Gosling fan, talking about Drive. And I got this cool ass slipcase here to protect my cool ass steelbook, 4K steelbook from Blockbuster Box Sets here. I mean, this just gives me like 80s vibes. I like the badass, like quiet anti-hero character he plays in this. Guy with a heart of gold who will straight stomp your head into the ground. Elevator scene, hello. I really dig this movie a lot. I'm a car guy. My dad would have loved this movie. And you know, I can't remember when this movie came out. My dad might have seen it before he passed. I'm not sure when this movie came out. My dad passed at the end of 2009. He might have seen this movie. He probably, if this was 2000, this might have been 2015. He might have seen it. He would have definitely loved this movie. Car guy and everything else. But Drive, definitely a great blind buy. And just a great steelbook, great case. Just everything about this blind buy I love. All right, we are at 10, 9, 8, 7, or excuse me, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So we're coming in at number 7 next. All right, here it is. Number 7, another Vinegar Syndrome. I've talked about this one recently on the channel a good bit. 80s, low budget, 80s rock, hair, bands, nudity, hot girls, snow ski vibes, Hills Have Eyes vibes, low budget movie vibes, practical effects. Did I mention the hot girls in the snow? Friggin' Blood Tracks. I mean, this movie is fun. If you didn't get this movie, go get it, man. This movie is just so much fun. If you grew up with like 80s slashers with the requisite TNA, the mindless, like, what the hell are they doing? They're going to get killed. All that kind of stuff. This has like Jalo flavored blood in the movie. That's like that red paint, day glow looking blood. You've got Blood Tracks being performed out there by a band in the snow. And these poor girls, they're actually out in the snow. And the dudes are shirtless wearing like the tights, you know, with their big hair. And the girls wearing itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikinis, like not like less than thongs, like strings out there in the actual cold. But you can tell these people had fun making this movie. Now I like this side. This side actually feel like encapsulates it better than this. And the original artwork here, I also think is better. I think the original artwork is better. But I definitely definitely dig this movie. This was a hell of a fun blind buy. If you haven't seen it, take the plunge. Get Blood Tracks. It's a nice transfer. Some people are like, oh, the sound this, the sound that. Dude, this movie is a low-budget movie shot on film, on location. Be lucky it exists. But it is an absolute blast. Glad to have Blood Tracks. Now, next up on our list is another one. Daniel. Daniel, you owe me money, Daniel, at Cobwebs. But this one is one he talked about a lot as being the most scary movie he had seen. And, you know, it's hard. Like, I make horror movies. I've seen a lot in my life. It's hard for me to get scared from a horror movie at all. So I was like, man, Daniel's seen a ton of horror movies. So I'm like, man, if this scared him, I'm going to take the plunge on it. And I got an awesome 101 Films Blu-ray. And I'm going to tell you, for me, this movie is so scary, I had to pause it, let my heart rate started going up. I started getting close, as I'm someone who actually does suffer from like panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I started feeling it getting up there because it's very realistic to me. Very realistic. The horror is like things that would actually happen, I believe, in my experience in real life. I'm talking about Ghost Watch. This movie, high recommend. Anything that came after this, like the Late Night with the Devil, it owes to this. Big time. This is a great Blu-ray. I just cannot recommend this movie enough. Some people are like, it's boring, nothing happens. If you have an imagination at all, like if you let your imagination go off with you and you let the realism of how this would be, like, it's not realistic to think that Freddy Krueger's, and I love Nightmare on Elm Street, it's not realistic to think Freddy Krueger's ever jumping out with, you know, razor fingers and gonna come in your house and all this. But a malevolent presence actually being in your house, doing these things, affecting you, and all of that kind of stuff, possessing you, just draining your life, so to speak. That's more realistic. That is there. And when you start to put yourself in these people's situation, if you're the type of person who's empathetic and can do that, it really starts to affect you. It's all done like a live broadcast on Halloween of this haunted house. I'm telling you, scary movie. Very, very scary. Very worth the watch. Just super high recommend. And so, I mean, I got the recommendation from Daniel. So, again, it's an educated blind buy. And boy, is it a thumbs up. I love Ghost Watch. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. And this one, the next one is another David Lynch film that's up this high because I actually might like it better than Mulholland Drive. Than Blue Velvet. I just spoiled it. It's Mulholland Drive. I can't tell. I go back and forth between the two. This one has a little bit more horror mystery vibes to it, which I dig. And I don't know. This one's, yeah, it says seductive and scary vision. I would agree with that. I'm going to be honest with you. David Lynch, if you don't know this from his movies, particularly like this in Lost Highway, he's got a thing about the devil. Like the devil being behind stuff and affecting things, and characters being the personification and a stand-in for the devil. Go rewatch Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway with the idea that the devil is in that movie, in both movies, and you will find him. And that is, I don't know. I dig this movie, the Hollywood of it all, everything. And I actually purchased this one. So that makes it go up a little higher than Blue Velvet because I didn't actually have to purchase that one, even though it was a blind watch. So Mulholland Drive, I'm telling you, go watch this movie and Lost Highway with the idea that the devil is in the movie and the devil is behind it. And you're going to have a whole other appreciation for this movie. So Mulholland Drive comes in at number 5. All right, at number 4, Daniel, again, at Cobwebs channel. So I probably mentioned Daniel a lot because before I decided to do this, I started watching YouTube one day, and I found Daniel at the Cobwebs channel. And he was talking about movies that I used to watch with my dad, and that I watched with my brother and my uncle and stuff like that growing up. And it just made me feel good. And I had lost, I'm a filmmaker, I make independent films, but because of the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, people had stopped investing in films. The last film I'd put out was like January of 2021. It got released. So it was a bad time for it to get released. January of 2020, I think. And it was a bad time. That's a bad time for a movie to get released, right? Because it was the very end of January, and then we had and we were in the pandemic. And people stopped investing in movies, and I lost my outlet. I wasn't on set anymore. I wasn't traveling the country promoting my films at film festivals. I wasn't traveling and being a guest at like Days of the Dead horror convention and selling movies and signing autographs and doing all this stuff. I wasn't casting. I just wasn't in the movie stuff anymore, and I got depressed, and I just stepped away from movies for a long time. And then my dad passed, and I was, the one common ground, the biggest thing he and I had in common, because he didn't know anything about sports, anything else, was movies. He was gone. So there was this whole thing, and it was watching this and seeing Daniel and remembering all those good times. And I realized, hey, I'm going to do that. That I can go in there and talk about my filmmaking. I can talk about movies I love and movies I grew up with and the nostalgia, and it'll make me feel better. And I owe that all to all of you out there, because it definitely has. And Daniel got me started. And so I've watched a lot of his stuff. Now I watch other people too. Of course, I love my man Brian. I love my Last Movie Standing. I love Jason over at Pop Culture Mass. I watch Ken. I watch Planet CHH. All these people. And I enjoy just talking movies, right? And this is another one that he was talking about that I was like, I've seen that movie, right? I couldn't remember if I had seen it or not. And he was talking about how good it was. So I just was excited when Scream Factory released The Stepfather on 4K. Incredible movie. I recommend, if there are two movies from Scream Factory and Shout Studios that you've never seen before, that you want to see, amazing 4Ks and movies that are 100% worth it, there are two movies I recommend from them that don't get as much publicity as the others: Stepfather and Matinee. I 100% highly recommend these two movies to you. That is my gift to you. Watch those movies. This movie has one of the most underrated performances, in my opinion, in the history of movies. Definitely the history of horror movies. Terry O'Quinn's performance in this, who is a serial killer looking for the perfect family. This has lots of fall vibes. Absolutely incredible movie. Just an incredible blind buy based on an incredible recommendation. Now, when I watched it, there were parts of it that I remembered. So I probably saw it as a kid and just couldn't remember. So it was like a blind buy. Otherwise, it would be number one. But because I think I probably had seen it, because there were parts that I remembered, I keep it down a little bit lower, but just a super high recommend. Please, if you haven't, they don't give me anything, but if I could recommend two movies for you to buy from Scream Factory that aren't like obvious ones, The Stepfather and Matinee. There you go. All right, now top three. This is one I did a full review on here on the channel. It's an independent film. I friggin' love that Arrow released this. I wish I could find somebody to release Dark Roads for me. I'm so proud that they got this movie out here. 80s video store, 80s B-movie, horror, action, nostalgia to the max. Done perfectly, man. Just done perfectly. I am talking about The Last Video Store. Y'all, listen, I follow this guy on that is the lead in this on Instagram. We're on each other's Instagram now. I applaud them for this movie. You got your one location video store, and you just made all that nostalgia. The reason we love movies, the reason we tie it back to like the 80s and the old VHS nostalgia and going in the video store and watching on a VCR at home, all of that stuff that ties to a different and a better time for a lot of us, and maybe a better time in the country, the way people got along and all this kind of stuff. It's just all wrapped up in this movie. All those vibes, everything. I friggin' love The Last Video Store. If I could recommend an Arrow blind buy that isn't popular, that not everybody knows me, it's easy to say, go get The Warriors or go get Hellraiser or something like that. That's easy. If one that you want to take a chance on, this is one. I did. Check out my review on it. I'll try to link that here. Absolutely incredible. Just a damn fun ride. A big kudos to these guys. Absolutely love it. I know how hard it is as an independent, low-budget filmmaker. You guys did amazing. This movie captures it all. So much heart. Now, number 2 is another one that I just have no idea how I missed growing up. Again, my brother was into rock and roll, baby, like serious rock and roll. He's 4 years older than me. So he's born in the mid-70s. And then, like, this movie came, like, this should have been number 1. This should have been, like, on our target. Weird Science is my favorite John Hughes film. This is like a horror movie version of Weird Science. Incredible release by Synapse and Redshirt here. I'm talking about Trick or Treat. I mean, this is just one of the best blind buys I could ever purchase. The 4K is incredible. I absolutely love the movie. It checks every single box for me. Just every single box is checked. The 80s nostalgia, the Weird Science, you got a little bit of TNA in here. The rock and roll, just everything, everything. Honestly, the lead actor might be the weakest point in the movie. But just an amazing release. High recommend. There's a standard version out there now if you can't find this with a slipcover. I really recommend it, y'all. This movie, I was so damn excited, and it was I couldn't believe that I didn't have the nostalgia for it because I missed it growing up somehow. But then I was also appreciative that I was getting to watch it for the first time. Just a great blind buy. Just high recommend Trick or Treat. It comes in at number 2. And you might be saying, well, what in the hell could beat that? I think this is the favorite thing that I've seen in the past 6 months to a year, blind buy wise. This has become something that makes me feel good. I put it on in the background. It plays again and again. It's just like getting hit with rights and lefts of nostalgia, just over and over again. Takes me back to the 80s, makes me long for that time, and just scratches all that itch, and then talks about some of my favorite movies too. I'm talking about 1982, the greatest geek year ever. Now, this is a documentary. I don't care. It is MVD Rewind Collection. Give me all of these you can give me. Now, I'm still going to do a video on this because I don't necessarily agree that 1982 is the best geek year ever. I'm going to probably make a case for 1984. But this film right here, this documentary, absolutely incredible. All of the 80s vibes. So many movies represented in one place. Just absolutely epic. And I just could not love this more. I ring the bell on this for anybody who will listen. Get it and watch it. Get it and watch it. I absolutely love 1982. Greatest geek year ever. This is just an absolute home run of a release to me. And just an epic freaking blind buy. Just absolutely epic. Can't recommend it more. Absolutely love this film. So check it out. And that is my list. And that, y'all, I have been blind buying more, and my tastes are more refined, getting good recommendations. And I could have probably made this list 25 long. So I'll probably come back if you guys enjoyed this and do a part 2 of this at some point when I get some more in. And you guys let me know. Let me know some of your favorite blind buys down here in the comments, and I'm always excited to hear about more. Give me some recommendations too. I'm trying to get more movies and watch them because I love movies. I love talking to about movies with all of you. If that's something that you enjoy, you know we do it all here. Physical media news, 4K reviews, those big awesome lists and recommendations I love doing because I love recommending movies that maybe you haven't seen or you've forgotten about. And I just love talking movies, so we do all of it here. Like and subscribe. That really helps out the channel. If you want to help support what I do here, you can join below at my YouTube channel, or preferably you can join at my Patreon link. Now, either way helps out the channel a whole lot. But I'm going to be honest, I've discovered lately that I can just do more and upload more on Patreon, and they take less. So if you're a channel member at YouTube, you want to consider moving over there, you might get a little bit more content, but you're going to get content from me in both places. You're going to get special behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking. You're going to get special members only videos. And of course, no matter where you are a member, for supporting me, you are going to get your name in lights on every single video. And y'all, I really do appreciate it. It means more to me than you realize. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.